Hey guys, what's up? So once again, welcome to my top 10 best Nintendo 3DS JRPGs, but today we're going to focus only on ports and remakes of any kind that were released in North America for this amazing portable system. Alright, let's begin! Number 10. The Mercenary Saga 2 and 3. Mercenary Saga 2 and 3 are strategy RPGs with strong influence from Tactics Ogre and Final Fantasy Tactics with their isometric views. All three of them were originally released for mobile devices, but then only the second and third one were ported to the 3DS on a digital format, then as a whole trilogy for the Nintendo Switch, now called the Mercenary Saga Chronicles. It beats me to know why the first one wasn't ported to the 3DS. I really have no clue about that, but at least we got the other two, which are really awesome RPGs, excellent Tactics Ogre clones, with much friendlier mechanics and easier to get into. Their simplicity makes them a solid entry for gamers into strategy games, as I equally recommend both since gameplay-wise, they are exactly the same game. Although on a personal note, I would favor the third one since it's the one with the story and characters I like the most. And nope, you don't need to play them in order since they seem to be unrelated to each other. Anyway, these are two good ports on the Nintendo 3DS. Number 9. Dragon Quest VII Fragments of the Forgotten Past. Dragon Quest VII is a remake of the original Dragon Warrior 7 for the PS1, and it sure shows. I played the original some years ago and I remember getting stuck around 25 hours in on a boss battle. But you know what? I still liked a lot what little I played. I say little because it's one of the longest RPGs ever made, so 25 hours in wasn't even half of the game. On this remake, I haven't gotten to that same part, but what I've played so far shows how good of a remake it is. How this great remaster proved to be exactly what new gamers were looking for while trying to get into the Dragon Quest series. Sure, some things might not be as outstanding as others, like the navigation for example, with the camera focus getting in the way quite often, but I'll say it's a welcoming change to the fantastic charm of the original game. It still has a lot of charisma, and it still is, in my opinion, one of the best Dragon Quest games ever made. Number 8. Dragon Quest VIII Journey of the Cursed King. Some people might say this was not an ideal port of the original on the PS2, which is the one I played for the most part, although I never made it past the final boss. I remember that game being very beautiful with an amazing soundtrack as nostalgic as the one in Dragon Quest VII. I noticed some changes here and there from the original game, like the bad transition between battles and the overworld map, and also the navigation being a little bit slower than usual. Despite that, however, it was pretty good. There's also two new playable characters. No more random encounters, something that they also removed in Dragon Quest VII, thankfully, and the option to fast forward the battles among other new features. To avoid spoilers, I won't show who are the new characters that will join you. I still prefer the original PS2 version of this game, but regardless of its flaws, it's still a pretty decent port, and those who don't have a PS2 but own a 3DS might as well go for this enhanced port. Hey, at least it's superior to the port they made for Android. Number 7. Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux. This was a much needed port, considering the original game for the Nintendo DS, also an amazing game by the way, had certain issues that definitely require fixing. The best example was the difficulty within the navigation with the maps being quite long and also tedious because of the amount of random encounters. In this port, dungeons are still extremely long, but encounters aren't that often. In any case, Strange Journey is an excellent game, one of the very few dungeon crawlers in first person that I have ever enjoyed, with an outstanding mature story focused on a special military force that gets dragged into this mysterious dimension, with a solid cast of characters and its excellent demon recruitment system. In Strange Journey Redux, you have one additional character and route besides the ones you already had in the original version. If you own a 3DS, this is a title you can't miss, and a better version in my opinion than its brutally difficult predecessor. Number 6. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. This one is a game with a long story. It's part of the Devil Summoner series, and it was originally released for the Sega Saturn in 1997. Then it was ported to the PlayStation 2 years later, but neither version made it out of Japan. It wasn't until 2012, that's right, 15 years later after its original release, that we finally got this amazing RPG. Just like the previous game in this list, Soul Hackers is a dungeon crawler in first person, but with a much better gameplay and navigation mechanics. At least in this port. The story revolves around a group of hackers in a science fiction Japan that are tasked with going into an online game that's being affected by supernatural forces. That's right, by demons. You've got a great cast of characters here, a kick-ass soundtrack, a mature story, and a very retro feeling from the 90s that you'll understand once you finally play it. This is an underrated gem on the 3DS that I was so excited to play a couple of years ago. You just can't go wrong with Shin Megami Tensei. 15 years took for it to get here, but hey, better late than never, right? Number 5. Tales of the Abyss. It's a port from the original on the PS2, which is the one I played Mbit. I got this for a bunch of hours in until I lost track of time, of course what with the game being amazing, just to see the differences, and well, other than the graphic adaptation to the 3DS, I barely noticed any other than the loading times being faster on the 3DS port. What else, the touchscreen? No more co-op mode? Anyway, I don't think you can go wrong with any version since both are as great as the other. This is a classic on the PS2, one of the most popular Tales of games ever made, and one with a very good story and strong character development. Of course, if you don't own a PS2, there's nothing wrong with getting this good port on your hands so you can finally enjoy the heck out of it and meet one really fun action RPG with its addicting battle mechanics fully in 3D. You know what? I think both Shin Megami Tensei games are better than this game, but this one is just much more fun to play. Number 4. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. You know I'm a Fire Emblem enthusiast, so I couldn't leave out the best Fire Emblem on the 3DS, a complete remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden for the Famicom that we never got. What, you were shocked to see how much time it took for Soul Hackers to be finally released outside Japan? Meet Shadows of Valentia. It took 25 goddamn years for it to arrive here. 25, man! With the original being released in 1992 and this remake in 2017. Obviously, there's a million differences between both versions, as this is a full 3D remake of the game, all of them being positive in my opinion. I love this game, I enjoyed the story, they did put some emphasis on stereotypes, but that doesn't matter as long as it stays true to its gameplay mechanics, now including exploration inside dungeons, just like in your everyday role-playing game. Some gamers weren't happy with that, but to hell with them, I was, and since it helped a lot with grinding and all that jazz. Fire Emblem Echoes is, like I said, and in my opinion, the best 3DS Fire Emblem, and one that definitely needed to be here in this list. Number 3. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor 2. Record Breaker. Well, I think the following choices in this video are quite obvious, but let's get down to it anyway. The Devil Survivor games were originally released on the Nintendo DS, developed by Atlus and Careersoft, the people behind the Growlancer and Langrisser series. They were strategy RPGs, brutally hard, with some unforgiving missions, but still with their amazing mechanics, delving deep into a skill system that I found really addictive. That and the fact that almost every single decision you made throughout the entire game affected the routes you could take and the endings. On its port to the 3DS, Devil Survivor 2 got one full chapter, really long, and the difficulty settings were bound to a normal and hard challenge, away from an unfair and frustrating experience. A new character in the story, a new chapter, overall a slight improvement over the original one for the Nintendo DS. Sure, the cast is full of annoying stereotypes, but the story itself surrounding most of the routes in the game is totally worth your attention. Number 2. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked. I always say I prefer the first game a million times over the second one, but in truth, they're not that far apart in terms of story, gameplay, characters, and, well, everything. This game had the exact same benefits as its brother, a whole new chapter, very long indeed, expanding the story, the routes, and the endings. The power of decision is still there, affecting the gameplay as a whole, and its unforgiving difficulty fixed to a standard challenge, but still with the possibility of going back to it for hardcore gamers alike. I beat this game on the original DS by some damn miracle, and then I moved on to this version to feel the differences. I gotta say though, they got everything right. So I recommend the 3DS ports of these two amazing games and heavily addictive RPGs over their predecessors, but those two might still be an excellent idea to try if you want a nightmare challenge. Devil Survivor Overclocked still has a lot of stereotypes and cliches, but the story and characters felt much more interesting than its indirect sequel. Number 1. Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology. Yeah, you knew this was gonna be on the first place. So, it's an enhanced port of the original one also for the Nintendo DS that, in my opinion, didn't need it at all. The original is so goddamn good, a masterpiece, and it certainly didn't require anything further. But hey, Atlus just decided to take their chances with the 3DS and bring the story to a superior level. So how can a masterpiece be improved? Perfect Chronology is not only a port, but also a remake in some areas, like the character art style, especially in one of the main characters, and the inclusion of voice acting. There were some other new things like an additional route, a new character, and an animated opening. Soundtrack by Yoko Shimomura was left intact, as was the script and the gameplay mechanics. The game's about a soldier in the middle of a war between two nations that one day gets this mysterious book that grants him the power to travel through different timelines and affect them depending on the player's choices. It's a very well written plot, the charming and mature cast of characters. So which version is best to play? Maybe the 3DS one for all the new features, but I'll say both are equally amazing since the original had everything done right already. Radiant Historia will forever be among the kings of RPGs for both Nintendo portable consoles. So that's it guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. And I know what you're thinking, I know you're asking, and I know you're going to ask, where the hell is Xenoblade Chronicles? Well, that is a really good port, but you know what? That's a game for the new Nintendo 3DS. That's right. Today I cover only Nintendo 3DS games. That's right. Ports and remakes for the original 3DS, not the new 3DS. That's another console. But anyway, consider that games like some sort of honorable mention, maybe? Up to you. Thanks for watching once again. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!